On this week's show, we'll be discussing the impact of Summer Games Fest and the Xbox Showcase and Ubisoft Forward, the newest PlayStation Plus catalogue editions, and a ton of new games that just got announced. All that and much, much more on this week's GamerGuild Podcast. Good game, everyone, and welcome back to the GamerGuild Podcast, your weekly show where we round up all the week's video game news and stories for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/GamerGuild TV and up there in the digital cloud on your podcast preference of choice. Your players for this week are myself and also Mr. Chris. How are you?
I'm great. I'm doing good. After a busy week, we've now got a slightly quiet one to reflect, look back at the video game world and see what we'll be playing for the rest of 2024. It's exciting times ahead.
Indeed. But we do have a great show lined up for you. But before we get into it, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel and ring that bell icon so you're kept in the loop with all of our amazing content here at GamerGuild TV, such as this podcast releases every single Monday on YouTube and podcast services, 8 AM GMT. Our members, which you can join for as little as 99p, can get early access, usually either Saturday or Sunday. Whenever the edit is done, we put it straight up for members. So a slight early access there. Our other content, such as our live streams, where this week, Chris, we played XDefiant.
We did. We dove into a first-person shooter from Tom Clancy himself. I've heard he's the sole developer who worked on this title on Ubisoft's
Busy
behalf,
guy is Tom Clancy.
He is, even though he passed away a couple of years ago. Busy man. But yeah, we jumped into XDefiant with, I will say, our wonderful community. It was amazing. We had a good 20-25 ex-Stadia players show up for this live stream this past week. And you never really know when you pick a game that's maybe not in everybody's wheelhouse who's going to show up for it. Are they interested? Is there going to be engagement there? And boy, you guys showed up for it. I know it only came out about a fortnight or so ago, out into open public access. But yeah, we had a great time with the community. I wouldn't say I had a great time playing the game because we got our asses handed to us. But you know what? We learned, we had fun together, we grew, and we uninstalled it all collectively at the end.
Fun's debatable for me. I was having fun at first, but as the stream went on, I was no longer having fun. I just felt like I could never kill anyone. I'd put half a clip of bullets into someone, they'd turn around and shoot me, and I'd be dead instantly. And I just felt like I was just banging my head against the wall. And I don't think it's the game. I think it's very much me being crap at shooters online. Mm-hmm. But that makes the game not fun, so it makes me not want to play it. I have no interest in getting good at a game that I'm not enjoying.
Yeah, I think collectively over 2 hours, it was a showcase of why when you pass the 30-year-old mark, and you have other responsibilities and you don't have time to just dedicate every single evening to one game, your reflexes aren't good enough, your reaction time isn't active enough, you don't know the map of the world quite as well, you don't know the right loadout. And we even had some players jump in, like Fletch from Xbox Nation jumped in and helped us out massively. He put 80 hours in, and even we still struggled with that amazing support. But shooters, maybe stick to the single player campaign for me, like Call of Duty and stuff, Doom later on this year and stuff hopefully. But yeah, I had fun. Again, with no discredit to the game, I think XDefiant is a game. If you're in that wheelhouse and that's your genre style, I think you'd have an absolute blast with it. It was very reminiscent of Modern Warfare 2 era for me. That's the vibe I got. Quick drop in, do an objective, game's over in 10 minutes, give or take. Yeah, nice and snappy. Nice bit of variety on the characters. Of course, they're going to pull from other Tom Clancy IP and other Ubisoft IP to throw them in there. But yeah, solid game for me, just not for us or our audience seemingly.
My thing is, I don't really get what it does that Call of Duty doesn't. I didn't really see anything that was uniquely XDefiant. I know they've got characters and stuff from things like The Division. I suppose you have every class has its own kind of abilities. Maybe that's the thing that stands out, and the fact it is free to play, where Call of Duty Warzone aside isn't.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a Call of Duty killer, but I think it can find its own place. Because it isn't really anything. Battlefield, the last game, kind of flopped. So if someone's looking for a shooter that isn't Call of Duty, but plays similar to it, it's cross-play, it's multi-platform, it's free to play. it's not a bad choice.
Yeah, I think just every company, of course, is trying to carve out this niche for themselves, and is as saturated as the market is, and how dominated it is by the likes of Call of Duty and Apex and other such. It's a good effort by Ubisoft. I'll give them that, especially when they've wrote off so many other games like the Division Heartlands. Like, just draw that a line under it. This seemingly succeeded to launch, at least.
I think it's a very Ubisoft game where it's very clearly following trends rather than trying to trailblaze.
Yeah.
So it hasn't rewrote the rulebook and what a 5v5, 6v6 like PvP shooter can be. It's just doing a competent iteration of what already exists.
Yeah, and I think Ubisoft see it as an addition to like their catalogue of games. With them looking at Ubisoft Plus, they need like an arena shooter almost to kind of pad out every genre it's ticked in that Ubisoft Plus catalogue. So I think it's survived. Ubisoft traditionally support the games very well. Like if you look at Riders Republic and the season passes for the Crew Motorfest, they do a good job. And we'll get into Ubisoft because we didn't cover the Ubisoft Forward live on last week's show. So there is some like juicy stuff to talk about that came from last Monday's presentation. But all in all, I was happy with XDefiant. It's just not for me, unfortunately. I'll stick with my Rainbow Six Siege where I have a moment to breathe and plant some bombs and squad out with a team rather than just die upon die upon die.
I prefer the more grounded gameplay of Siege, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's people sprinting, jumping through the air, going prone. Well, you can't go prone in this game, but like bunny hopping everywhere. It doesn't do it for me. Chris, you've still got your playthrough of Uncharted Abyss. You've finished the game now, slowly going up for members and non-members on the channel. Is it a week delay between members and non-members that we're doing this?
Yeah, week delay between them. So if you are a guild hero, you get that up to a week early. Episodes are dropping at the current cadence every Tuesday, so there'll be one tomorrow at the time the show goes live. I believe that is part 4, so there's only one more after this, and then it'll all be wrapped up, and I'll get the full playthrough up in one 8.5 hour beautiful chunk of PlayStation Vita gameplay. And then, we'll see what's next. We'll see what's on this week's live stream, because we're open to suggestions. Jump into our Discord, links in the description below. Let us know what you want to play. Let us know what we should play. We did mention we are holding off on our Gears of War 2 playthrough probably until after we've got the summer holidays out the way, just because we're both scheduled to do things. I'm out the country twice and a bunch of other commitments, so
I've got
we'll hang fire
somewhere in the start of July. So it's these sort of like life commitments where we want to make sure we can have a run of shows where we're both definitely going to be here together for when we go Gears 2. But Gears 2, it will be Gears of War 2 years next. But that is definitely the next planned full playthrough of me and Chris together. Anything else you've been playing?
Just my Wrexham career on EA Sports. Actually, scratch that. I have been playing the Alan Wake DLC, which stealth dropped last week at Summer Game Fest. So I played that over the weekend and sporadically through the week. So the Night Springs DLC, which is a fun take on the Twilight Zone for those who've not played Alan Wake before. It's 3 mini episodic pieces of DLC, essentially, similar to how Far Cry kind of have a fun nod at theirs. You play episode 1, you are in the girl from the diner, who you'll know from Alan Wake 1, but you won't know her that well. You get to know more in the sequel. Rose from the diner, she's like the jilted fan of Alan Wake who loves all his material. You play as it's like a tongue-in-cheek comedy in her head. She thinks she's the hero in her world, and everyone loves her, and she's got this relationship with Alan Wake, even though it's just a book she's read from an author. There's some fun to be had in there. Episode 2, you play as Jessie from Control, so there's some good Remedy crossover there. She's in the like warped little alternate universe off the back of the Control storyline. And then the 3rd episode, you go and play as Tim Breaker, he's in Alan Wake 2, but it's played by the guy from Quantum Break, the Xbox exclusive by Remedy.
Oh, okay.
So it's that thing where it's like, it's obviously the actor. They make so many references without naming him as the guy from Quantum Break. And if you've played Alan Wake 2, it's definitely Remedy basically buying time until Xbox give up the rights to Quantum Break. It goes multi-platform.
They want to fold Quantum Break properly into the universe. They just can't do it officially yet.
100%.
They're laying the foundations for it.
So much so. And then the character Wallen Daw in Alan Wake 2 is played by I always forget his name. Damn it! He plays Martian Manhunter in the DC TV shows, but he's very similar to Lance Reddick's character in Quantum Break. Like so. Of course, Lance Reddick passed away last year. The guy from Horizon played Silence in Horizon. You'll be familiar with him. Absolutely. There's very similar characters, so my guess is he would have been cast in Alan Wake 2 if he hadn't passed away or other contractual obligations. So I can see Remedy building this phenomenal connected universe, and the Alan Wake DLC just adds bits to that. It's like, you know what? Let's just have some fun. Let's thread these pieces of connection again. And yeah, they're only about an hour-ish each, so it only took me about 3 hours in total to finish all of them, and it was a nice little return to the gorgeous world of Game of the Year award-winning Alan Wake 2. So yeah, look forward to it. And then from a personal standpoint, we did mention the live stream, Richie. We should let our podcast listeners know we are planning something big for our 5th year anniversary.
We are.
So we get there in September, end of September, so you've still got some time, folks, watching along, listening along out there. But yeah, we celebrate 5 years of this channel on the 30th of September this year, and we wanted to do something with you rather than for you for a change. So instead of doing our usual kind of Gamer Guild celebration where we play video games all day long, which we might still do something digital after the fact for those who can't make it, but we are intending to do some kind of like meet and greet where we'd love to actually see you guys face to face, share a beer, share a couple of drinks together, maybe a couple of shots, who knows, but we haven't ironed anything out yet. The goal is to just find a location that works best for everyone who's interested in going, and just go out for some drinks, meet some of you, change gamer tags for real names, say hello, chat about video games, catch up, talk about just anything and everything really, but more importantly, get nice and drunk, nice and merry, and have a good night out somewhere to celebrate 5 years of this channel. It's crazy. I think it's been half a decade, Richie, since we started this.
We've been sitting on this idea for a couple of years, actually.
Yeah, it was like, do we do it for our 2nd year? Nah, we'll do it for our 3rd year. Nah, and then we're like, we'll get everyone from the Stadia community together, and then that shit the bed and folded. So it was like, maybe not the right time to do that. And then I had a child, so that kind of put the brakes on that one. And then now it's like, right, where can we get a time frame? So I think 5 years is a good milestone.
Yeah.
They said half a decade, Richie. We were not in our 30s when we started this show, and I'm 35 this year. We're 35 this year.
We were. You were, I think. Had you just gone 30?
Oh, actually, scratch that. Yeah,
I wasn't.
Sorry, we thought of the idea in the August time, and then we went live with our first show in September. So yeah, I was 30. Yeah,
I was 29, but only for a few weeks.
But yeah, so 5 years, it's no easy feat to hit, and like I said, we've got a wonderful community out there. I know some of you aren't necessarily from the UK, but again, we'll talk about logistics and we'll line out a day close to the time. But yeah, it'd be nice to see you all, have a drink, share a pint, do what we need to. But yeah, we'll let you know, more plans to come.
Yeah, for me, I haven't actually played that much this week. I played a bit of FIFA, EA Sports FC 24, continuing my Newcastle career. It's going okay. My squad did hate me briefly because I said one bad thing in the press conference, and then suddenly the entire squad's morale's going down. Kieran Trippier is banging on my door going, the guys don't like you. It's like, I said one stupid thing, and we're like 3rd in the league. It's like, what the fuck? It's like,
yeah, the guys are feeling unsettled at the moment. It's like, why?
I'm always having people, FIFA haven't sorted this out in about 10 years. You have someone go, oh boss, I really want to play this next game. I think I'm important to the team. It's like, it's the Carabao Cup or whatever the League Cup is called nowadays versus, like, I don't know, Birmingham, and in 2 days' time we've got the Champions League. It's like, and you're knackered. No,
yeah,
but you don't have a chance. You don't have an ability to go to respond properly. Going, no, mate, you're knackered. I'm saving you for this game.
Yeah, mine.
And then the moment that they don't get enough game time, it's like, bloody, like you're knackered all the time. I'm rotating the squad because you're tired.
Yeah, I completely feel that. I'm getting the same. I also think the career mode breaks after so many seasons because I'm getting to a point where I'm on like a really good unbeaten run, and they'll come and go, oh, you're on a fantastic 15-game unbeaten run right now, and then I'll lose a game, and they'll come in and they'll say like, oh, that was a really hard-fought draw, and it's like, we lost. And then the next week it'll be like, oh, your unbeaten run's still going. How can the guys keep it up? And I'm like, we lost last week. Like, are you not watching the set? Like, it must lose its stats. Similar to as you were saying, the player's fitness. You know, when you have to balance their energy and their performance.
Yeah,
that's totally broke on my career mode now.
It doesn't work for me.
They just come. Yeah,
I'm constantly like getting told, "Oh, I need to change this player's fitness or his sharpness or his fitness." So I'll change it, and then I'll get an email saying you're changing it too much, too often. It's like, but you didn't. I mean, it's just a mechanic that just doesn't work.
It's not thought out enough. Again, the career mode's been left to die for pretty much the last 7-8 years now, since FUT mode started making them the money. And I'm still enjoying it. I'm fun. I'm on the cusp of Premier League promotion. I'm in 6th, but my squad is so like unprepared for the Premier League. I'm starting to draw loads of games. I'm not as sharp, but the defending is just so slow. Yeah. But football talk aside, that's going to be my game. I'm going to keep dipping into probably until Star Wars Outlaws or something comes out.
Yeah, so we'll same. I haven't really played anything else other than that. I do need to go back to Assassin's Creed 2 because I do want that platinum.
Collect those feathers.
I have been playing a bit of South Park Stick of Truth on my Portal. Not much this week, actually, though. I do need to go back to Jedi Survivor, but it's kind of lost on my Xbox at the moment because I'm barely home nowadays.
Yeah.
I could play it on my phone with Rikishi, but
it's not the same.
It's not the same. But me and my girlfriend, we've started watching all the X-Men films again on the run-up to Deadpool.
Wow, that's a choice.
Yeah,
including Origins.
We watched Origins last night.
Oh, what a waste of a Friday night!
Yeah, it was. It's not terrible if you pretend it's not connected to any other film. It's okay.
You know what is good in it?
What?
Sabretooth. I'll give Liev Schreiber his flowers for that one.
Like, the CG is not to be worse than the original trilogy, and none of the plot doesn't really make that much sense in terms of any character's real motivations.
Yeah,
and it doesn't connect well with the original trilogy. What considers meant to be an origin story, as I said before, the original trilogy is like it's a mess.
I remember at the time being really hyped, thinking we get Wolverine Origins, and then we're going to get like Storm Origins, Cyclops, or we're going to get a movie for each of these characters. Plan. And it's like, oh, I cannot wait. And then it did so bad, it was like, never mind.
Yeah.
We'll wait another 7 years for the Avengers to start up.
But we're rewatching them because with Deadpool with Deadpool and Wolverine kind of connecting probably the Fox X-Men universe to the MCU, it's nice to have that refresher going in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other than that, we actually watched Inside Out last night.
Well, so did we.
1 or 2.
1?
Yeah, we watched 1 because we're going to see 2 tonight.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah. I enjoyed it. It's not that long, actually.
No, it wasn't. I enjoyed it. I've never seen it before.
Yeah, it's clever. Like I think I told you last week, it's like the numbskulls from the Beano magazine, but with emotions instead of like little humans controlling people.
Are you and your wife going to see it soon, I'm guessing?
I mean, that's the plan. I think it comes out this week. So I think my plan was, what do we want to watch?
We'll let you go on tonight, which is why I watched it last night.
Oh, you'll have to let us know how it is then.
I will do. Well, I think that's enough of that, Chris. Would you like to do the honours of introducing us to
if you can't tell, it's a quiet week for news. The graciously gathered GamerGuild Gazette, aka The News.
The News. And as always, our news is brought to you by our Guild Heroes, which you can join us for as little as 99p over on the YouTube channel. I've already told you what you get, but you also get our undying love, because we appreciate every single one of yours. 99p, not a lot of money, but it very much helps keep the lights on here at GamerGuild TV. Thank you very, very much. Should we start with the Ubisoft Forward, Chris?
Yeah, I think we covered Xbox Showcase and Summer Game Fest in depth on last week's show. Like that, the whole show was just built up of that. We missed Ubisoft Forward, but there was some little things to come out of it. So I think we'll work our way back through, reflect on Summer Game Fest as a whole. It's all behind us now. Video games are alive and well. I'm seeing some just great energy out there in the world, especially for Xbox, which is really, really nice to see. I think there's two people who've been new to the ecosystem of late, and we've seen the kind of the end game for Xbox, like what they want to do. It was always just the content was lacking, and I feel like last week's showcase really just put the wind in the sails for, you know what? They've got some pretty decent stuff slated for, like, so much so where with PlayStation and Nintendo being so quiet this Summer Game Fest, like non-existent practically, about one or two things, I think it gives Xbox a good bit of momentum, which they've not had for a long, long time. So I think they're in a good place, and obviously Ubisoft are going to bolster that as well with their own offerings.
I mean, I've theorised that PlayStation going to have a down year or two because of the change in direction to more games as a service, then seemingly backtracking on it. but them decisions leaves a bit of a hole in your catalogue.
Yeah.
So as you're working on, see, like Naughty Dog spent a couple of years working on Last of Us Factions, or whatever that was going to be called, and now that's been cancelled. So now they're just left with, that was their main project. So suddenly they're now switching what their main project will be. They could probably reuse the assets and stuff, reuse some of the gameplay ideas, some of this narrative stuff, but it's going to be a few more years before they get the next game out because of that decision.
Yeah.
And extrapolate that across the entire library. This is the time when Xbox can really capitalise if they can get banger after banger out over the next 2-3 years. They can. I think they could really make some headway.
Yeah, and it's what they've needed for some time, that window of opportunity. So, we've been saying they've been stacking the dominoes for so long. It's about time they begin to fall in a positive way. So yeah, it's looking really good for the end of this year and beyond for Xbox. So hopefully the other two players will come out swinging, and we'll just be like, damn, video games are cool.
Might as well touch on Switch quickly before we get into Ubisoft. I think Nintendo have been quiet because they're not yet ready to show the Switch 2. But the Switch has felt like it's at the end of its life for a couple of years, really. And I think maybe in the next month or two we're seeing it, because if they're planning maybe early 2025 release, I think Switch was in February, then they're going to, I think, maybe give it another couple of months, then take the stage, capture the stage entirely to yourself.
Yeah. You'd think there'd be some kind of direct this summer, maybe not now, but by the end of August, surely you get something.
It might even be the scrambling, hoping they can make a October, November release and get the Christmas window.
I mean, that would be huge. The Switch would be on everyone's Christmas list this year if they could get it out.
Absolutely, yeah.
But in terms of it, I just think the benefit the other two have, Nintendo and PlayStation, is their consoles are selling gangbusters. Yeah. So they don't have that impetus to why rock the boat if it's working and at a reduced cost where we don't need to put anything out because it's still selling so well. But you must think for something like the Switch, how overdue are we for another 3D Mario game? Did it launch with Odyssey or the first year? Did Odyssey come out within a year?
I think it launched with Zelda, and I think Odyssey was the end of the year.
The following, yeah. So you're talking 6+ years nearly, which is a good chunk of time to work on the next entry.
And you know what?
So
if they're smart, I think they could release with. We're going to go big with our new 3D Mario game, the basic successor to Mario Odyssey, and you're also going to get both Zelda games ported over. You can use your same cartridge or your same download, but you're going to get remastered versions of them for Switch 2. So if you get this Switch 2 out the box and you've got, I can go play Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom in now 1080p 60 frames per second, or potentially up to 4K or whatever they're going targeting, and now I've got a new Mario game.
And let's face it, there's always Mario Kart as well.
Yeah, I was going to say announce a Mario Kart for, let's just say for February release, you announce the Mario Kart for the back end for the Christmas release, and then you go, there's a solid year straight away.
Yeah, people would buy it just for those 2-3 things alone. So, yeah, we'll see. And again, PlayStation, the rumoured Pro, we still haven't heard anything. They did a state of play, but compared to everything else, I think the state of play was quite weak.
I don't think they need a Pro. I really don't actually think that a Pro's needed. It's not, they can have it, but I don't think it's needed. I think the PlayStation 5 is good enough. What I think they need is to get some big first-party titles out the door.
It is baffling how we sit here and go, everything Xbox just showed up, and it's PlayStation have that potential bottled, ready to go. They could easily pull something together and go, right, Naughty Dog shows what you're working on. Sucker Punch shows what you're working on. Santa Monica shows what you're working on. Blue Point shows what you're working on. They have so many quality studios that we know nothing about.
I think they want to keep
ready to go.
I think they want to keep the powder dry till they're ready to start going. Yeah. They don't want to do what we've seen a lot of. Look, talking about the Xbox showcase, Fable. How many times have we seen Fable, yet we haven't got a date for it? It feels like that they've announced that game too early. So I think that's what PlayStation are probably wary of, announcing a game, then in 5 years' time, sat here going, "Oh, do you remember that game? What happened to that?"
You mean Beyond Good and Evil?
Yeah, Beyond Good and Evil.
2, sorry.
2, yeah. Yeah, let's pivot over to the Ubisoft Forward. General impressions of it?
I watched it after the fact, so it was last Monday. We didn't do it live on the show, but I was always going to check it out because it's arguably Ubisoft have the 2 biggest games I'm interested in for the back end of this year. They led with Star Wars Outlaws, which I think we know plenty about so far, but just to see this Ubisoft position this showcase as like more of a deep dive into these titles, and I think they knew what they had. With 2 IP of Star Wars and Assassin's Creed, they didn't really have to put much more effort into this showcase. I think we discussed pre-show, actually. Didn't even really need to be a showcase. I would have actually preferred Ubisoft to just give the trailers and the assets over to Jeff Keighley or Xbox and just say, you know what, just sprinkle them throughout the rest of the weekend because it didn't really need a standalone event.
Yeah. That was my general impression of the showcase. Star Wars Outlaws, Assassin's Creed Shadows, very interested in. I had some issues with how they actually presented them. Everything else just seemed to be largely DLC.
Yeah, it was just updates for
updates for this, updates for that. So I was like, they could have just sprinkled that in throughout Jeff's thing, and I would have potentially done a Star Wars Outlaws and the Assassin's Creed Shadows, 2 separate events, as like a Ubisoft Direct, a bit more in depth. Because the Star Wars Outlaws one especially, it started with the orchestra, awesome, always a good start. Then we got a gameplay trailer, then we got a guy talking about on stage, and then we got a second gameplay trailer. It's like, you maybe don't need that much in one showcase. You could have cut, to be honest, the guy on the game director talking on stage didn't need that. Didn't need the second trailer. You could have saved that for a later date.
It did show really well, though, Outlaws.
It did. It looks awesome.
Have you seen all the comparisons people are making to Starfield?
Because you can fly into the planet and land.
Just everything from like the
even
open
if it's
world, the
basically
maps.
a cutscene as it's traveling. I don't think you're actually flying it, but it still looks cool.
But they showed off the dogfighting, and there is something with Star Wars. Obviously, it's got like as soon as you put that Star Wars overlay on it on the hood, and you have the same fonts and the music themes are very Star Wars. You've got that taste of nostalgia that I think elevates it a little bit more than you had with something like Starfield. But yeah, like there's dogfighting involved, as you said, the traversal from on planet to outer space, and then the hyperspeed, that's all there. But then just the typical, the Ubisoft stuff that works, and they've done so well for so many years now. It plays really well, I think, into Outlaws setup. Like you're seeing Mos Eisley, you're seeing like the sandcrawlers in the desert. You're looking through those Star Wars binoculars to tag people in a base, and you can approach it with a stealth or an action, all with that kind of like Ubisoft but Star Wars fold into one. And again, did amazing stuff with the Division. So I think gameplay got a little bit of criticism for looking a bit rigid. But when it comes to a third-person Ubisoft game, it's kind of like what I expect. I'm not expecting like fluent Mirror's Edge style traversal. It is quite. You're a human. You're a grounded human bounty hunter for all intents and purposes with a little pet character called Nyx. But you're not able to like run up walls and fly around. Like I think people are expecting something a bit more. But like you're just a human. Yeah. So if feeling grounded and a bit clunky is probably because that's what you are. But a lot of people actually got to go get hands-on with it, and they were allowed to do 3 missions. And the feedback I heard across like multiple podcasts last week was just, it's fun. It's really good, really fun. And the world's so rich and detailed that they're hyped for it, and I am too.
I can see where the criticism come from, because it doesn't, from what I've seen of it, it doesn't look and feel like a next-gen game. It feels like a very good PS4 game, not a PS5 game. But I actually don't have a problem with that if the game is ultimately fun.
Yeah.
And I think it looks like it is, and I'm surprised I'm defending Ubisoft because I'm usually one who's quite more critical, but I think the game looks awesome, I really do. We've actually got more information about the game length as well.
Yeah, we do.
About 25 to 30 hours for the Golden Path, plus potentially up to 50, 60 hours for completionists.
Yeah, the director came out and said he kind of quelled some worries that it was going to go all out Assassin's Creed Valhalla and you were going to be talking 100 plus hours, and he was like, no, it's not, that's not our intention. We want to give you a condensed Star Wars experience, which is, I think that timeline sounds about right for what we're seeing.
100%. I think that timeline is probably about the sweet spot, I think, for open world games. If you can finish completely, like, depending how quickly you play a game, for me, I'm probably usually the upper end. I might be pushing 70 hours. You might be down at the mid 50s. I think
Less
that
now.
maybe do for like a full platinum run. I think that is probably the sweet spot for an open world game where you feel like, you know what, I've got good value for the experience, but it hasn't overstayed its welcome.
Yeah.
You know, I almost feel like I want to finish an open world game going, not that I'm glad it's over. I was like, oh, that's done now. It's like, oh, nice. I'm content that it's over, but I almost could have done with a little bit more. So that's when DLC is enticing. 100 plus hour game, DLC is not enticing because by the time that 100 hours gone, I am done with the game.
Yeah, Ghost of Tsushima for me was like that perfect example of that sweet spot. Like when that game finished, I was like, "Fuck, that was good," but man, I could go for some more right now.
And typically, especially Ubisoft, when you get games pushing up the over 100 hours, like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, the additional content isn't actually fun. It's just stuff.
Pads it out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But the biggest thing for the time frame for me is it needs to be done before November 15th when Assassin's Creed Shadows comes out.
Yeah.
Because that is going to absorb, you would imagine, double the time. So that's my entire winter period probably playing Shadows mixed with other things.
There's one thing I want, though, to happen before this game comes out. Ubisoft Plus to come to PlayStation.
That would save everyone a lot of money.
Yeah. It was announced and just hasn't happened. It's like, I bet it happens after Shadows.
Yeah, see how it performs and then drop it if necessary.
Yeah. Once they get that initial sales window out, before Ubisoft probably launch a suite of like games as a service titles. Let's launch it then.
But yeah, speaking of Assassin's Creed, did you see Assassin's Creed Infinite? What was it called? Infinite? You know, the hub that's going to collect them all, apparently. That's been renamed, rumoured to be Assassin's Creed Animus now. So you are literally in the Animus picking your games you want to jump into, which fits for the universe.
I don't get the point.
I guess. I'm still waiting to see what, and I still need to see what it actually looks like. Like, are we a character in a little mini hub world, or is it just a menu screen? Like, what does and what's the cost? Like, is it a separate subscription? Do you pay for Assassin's Creed Animus and get like every game included for a tenner?
But what's the purpose?
We don't know.
This is the thing. Like, they've been talking about it for years since we started this podcast 5 years ago. They've been talking about it, but they haven't really explained what it is and why it is.
I suspect the Ubisoft think Assassin's Creed is big enough to stand on its own, and I think they'll do a subscription service where you get it and get all these Assassin's Creed games just for one fee.
And you're getting in the way of Ubisoft Plus then.
It might be included. It might be like, you know, you're on Amazon Prime and you want to watch a movie and it goes, oh, you can buy it, or you can sign up. Like me and the wife signed up for Studio Canal for a 7-day trial just to watch the Founder, the McDonald's movie, within Amazon. Yeah. So there's another $4.99 subscription within your Amazon Prime subscription for certain publishers of movies. And there's other ones for Lionsgate and MGM. So there's now subscriptions within subscriptions. I could see Ubisoft Plus having an Assassin's Creed add-on or pack somewhere like that branches off. But we'll learn about it at some point.
About Assassin's Creed Animus is the point, well, I think was always NFTs. I mean, NFTs, it just seems like they're going very quiet in gaming. But having a connected hub would make it easier because every game's built on the same infrastructure and interlinks that with a hub. Then your NFTs, so if your cosmetics are NFTs, you can transfer from game to game easier. Where I really couldn't give a fuck about that. In fact, I'd rather it didn't exist if that's why. So I just want to see what it is.
See.
Assassin's Creed Shadows, Chris?
Yeah, I don't need to see any more of this. Like, I'm not getting caught up in the whirlwind of racist bigots and stuff and history fanatics and that. Like, I love Assassin's Creed. It's one of my favourite franchises ever. I'm actually pretty much happy to go radio silent on this title now. I've seen enough that I know feudal Japan is a beautiful playground to run around in. I like the approach of either stealth with, is it Naue, and then Yasuke for like brutal combat. So you've got two approaches.
Yeah.
The game's going to look better than any Assassin's Creed game probably has before it, and I'm going to get 50 plus hours of fun, so I don't need to know anymore. I'm just looking forward to it.
I saw one of the most stupid comments of my life about that. It's like someone complaining that about the choice, and then someone just called them straight out. I was like, what, you're complaining about choice in a video game? You know, it's like one of them like, Because when the thing where you get to choose to do a mission between Yasuke and Naoe.
Yeah.
It's like someone was complaining about being given that choice. It's like, why would anyone complain about being given a choice? You can pick which side you want to go. I like the fact that they're doing the dual characters and they play different. Mm-hmm. And I like the fact they're given the choice, because if you want to play an Assassin's Creed game, you're going to go with Naoe. Yeah. If you want to play an action game that just happens to have an Assassin's Creed title on it, you're going to go with Yasuke.
I think it looks great.
It's one of the big criticisms that my girlfriend has about Valhalla. As much as she really enjoys it, it's not. She says it's not an Assassin's Creed game. The DLC, she says, is, but the main game is not. It's just an action game.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they've gone since Origins. They've been pretty much just like Witcher-esque open world RPGs, which I've loved.
I like the games, but I think they've lost what made the franchise interesting a bit by doing that. I've always felt the need a half step back. This, with Shadows, with Naoe being basically your classic assassin character, I think is the half step back what I've been wanting from the franchise.
Yeah, I just see them as history RPGs. Yeah, like the assassin stuff is so like inconsequential now for me towards this. It's like, do you like ancient Egypt? Yes, go run around in a playground in ancient Egypt. If you like ancient Greece, he's that. If he's ancient England, he's now feudal Japan. It's like, yeah, someone who was a big history fan, just growing up, like, this is just great for me exploring these worlds. And yeah, I'm there for it regardless. Like, again, I played Mirage. I got the Platinum Trophy in Mirage last year, and going back was okay, but it was missing something for me, and it might have been the open world. I might have now been conditioned to prefer it, but I'm still a fan. I'll still play it, and I can't wait.
From what I've seen, I don't think they did going back well. I think they went back, but took the wrong lessons. When they went back, they didn't. For me, going back, Mirage should have played like how you wished the Ezio trilogy played.
Yeah, but we're probably due an Ezio remaster reboot of some sort. Like, you haven't done one yet.
I'd say start doing a remake of Assassin's Creed 1, a full ground up remake.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Mirage team are
then
on
consider
now.
Going into doing the Ezio trilogy.
I think we're going to get... See, after Shadows in Japan, I think it's about time they went back and did Renaissance Italy with with the RPG scope. So we're talking Rome to Milan to Venice. Everywhere is going to be explorable.
I think they should do Spain.
Yeah, that would be
during the Inquisition.
But then are they getting too close to...
They haven't done Spain.
No, I'm thinking Italy, like similar themes and colour palette and stuff. But, well, I mean, we'll have time. I think the Mirage team will probably go work in the reboot. But speaking of going back, Prince of Persia. We got an update in the most oddest of decisions from Ubisoft.
Yeah. I feel a bit sorry for this game. This is... it's not... We got Story DLC for The Lost Crown, which is the one that looked awesome, did really well. What was the second one called?
The Rogue Prince of Persia.
The Rogue Prince of Persia,
the worst looking one. Like, it looks fun, but it looks visually so much worse than The Lost Crown. Like, if you're going to pick one or two, why pick the second?
That's the problem. The Lost Crown DLC is called Mask of Darkness, is out September. So if you're interested in playing more Lost Crown, you just got to wait till September. The Rogue Prince of Persia, it's one of them weird ones where I think Ubisoft are really getting in their own way with it, because I don't think that if it wasn't for The Lost Crown, I think people would be looking at this game and praising that they're going back to a 2D side-scroll Prince of Persia. Because I don't think it looks bad in any stretch of the imagination. No. It just doesn't look as good as The Lost Crown.
Yeah, The Lost Crown's got such a sharp, interesting art style that looks more modern. This looks very dated.
This is a Ubisoft...
Which is the intent.
This is Ubisoft bringing out Immortals Phoenix Rising on the heels of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. That's what this is again.
And Watch Dogs.
And Watch Dogs. The reason I was thinking more Valhalla and ignoring Watch Dogs is because Immortals and Assassin's Creed are very similar games.
Yeah.
The Rogue Prince of Persia and Prince of Persia Lost Crown are very similar games. So they're getting in their own way again. It's like, maybe push this one to next year, Ubisoft.
Yeah. Or the year after.
Like
the Sands of Time.
Yeah, Sands of Time. It finally returned, kind of, because we didn't see anything.
I can't believe they made this decision. So for those who don't know, the Sands of Time remake initially started off with like Ubisoft Mumbai, I think it was, like a brand new studio in India who started off working on the remake, and they showcased it at probably I want to say it's the first Ubisoft Forward. We covered it on the channel.
Yeah.
And it got so much backlash because it looked like a PS2 game. Like, I'm not even joking there. Like, the detail on the facial animations and the eyes and stuff was so embarrassingly poor.
It was so bad, it makes you wonder who's doing quality control on the Ubisoft Forward, who let that through. You could have just went, guys, this isn't in the showcase. I've watched the trailer, it's not going in. Go back and work on it. This is not going in. I don't care if we have to cut 20 minutes out of our showcase.
Yeah, and I think they underestimated either the interest or the fan base of Prince of Persia still, but they put it on the back burner. They brought in other teams, because Ubisoft is like such a global company. They've got studios all over. Like, you look left and right and you'll see a Ubisoft studio in a big city. And they then bridged out. I think they brought Montreal on and a couple of other studios to like help. And then they took it off Mumbai and they moved it over to somebody else completely. And then they just said they're going to totally rework on it. So the trailer we got was to announce it's been pushed back to 2026, which it was supposed to come out in 2022, I want to say. After they showed a candle in a window looking over a city, and it was like really gorgeous looking candle, beautiful ray tracing and stuff, the logo, and then that was it. The day, the year 2026. So it's
you
like,
know
right.
what? I really wish instead of this, I get why they've done this. They've done this because they're not ready to show anything, and they want to avoid the vaporware conversation like they have with Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Yeah, I think it's a reset point. I think this is them acknowledging, like, forget everything you saw from the last reveal. It's a whole new team. It's a whole new engine. It's going to look modern for all intents and purposes. And I think the time frame of knocking it back another 2 years, I think gives them enough room to really, really polish it, because there is a lot of people hyped for it, myself included, but it needs to look good.
Yeah, 100%. I wish... Well, actually, what I hope when we finally see a proper trailer for it is, what they do is they remake the trailer that we saw before, shot for shot.
Yeah, so people can do side by side.
Just accept the loss and just embrace the loss that you had with the Mumbai team, and go, you know what, we're going to just redo that trailer, but with better. And then, because people are going to do side by side comparisons, but make sure you absolutely fucking nail it. And this is something Ubisoft can afford to improve on. Going back to Assassin's Star Wars Outlaws, I don't think the main character looks that good. I think
I can see what you say. Yeah,
I don't think it's bad enough that it's a problem, but it's an area where Ubisoft still need to improve.
Yeah, her hair doesn't look
good. I don't think her face looks good.
Wow.
Not in terms of, you know what I mean. You can do better, Ubisoft. Like, you look at like Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Realism.
Yeah, you look at Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Eivor looks significantly better, more detailed than K.
Yeah.
But Prince of Persia: Sands of Time absolutely make your character models the best Ubisoft have ever put forward, and one for one, repeat the trailer.
Yeah.
Because people are going then just encourage people to do side-by-side comparisons and go, oh, this is how it should look. And just, you can't change the fact that you came out, you dropped the trailer, horrendous. So just embrace it, use it.
Yeah. And then hopefully that's off the back of some goodwill from Outlaws doing really well, Assassin's Creed doing really well, and then as they head into next year's Summer Showcase, they show it off again and go, right, it's coming next year, this is what we've got, here's the trailer.
I've got the info I was looking for, so... the remake was originally shown at Ubisoft Forward in 2020. Take a guess when the original release date was meant to be.
22?
No.
21?
Yes.
Wow.
January the 21st, 2021 was the original release date for Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake.
Was it coming to Stadia?
It's
Probably.
Not listed on the wiki page I'm reading. It just says PS4, Windows, and Xbox One, but I think it was.
It'll have been in Ubisoft Plus, won't it?
Yeah.
Most likely. Wow. So since the original launch date, it's going to be 5 years later. Got a Skull and Bones on our hands, Richie.
We have indeed, but Skull and Bones came out.
Yeah, it actually had some season update, didn't it?
It did.
Forward, like a brief trailer. It's dead in the water.
Yeah.
And that was it, right?
Yeah, we got some stuff about XDefiant, season 1 reveal. I know, which we'd all 117 Pax Romana announced. So I know it's kind of basically Ubisoft's take on Civ.
Oh, okay. Oh, so it wasn't DLC, it was actually a whole
game.
I
believe so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is. I think just when I saw the trailer, I just presumed it was an expansion. I didn't think Anno was a game that got multiple entries. I figured it was just like a platform that got like new factions added and stuff. But
I think it's a bit like Civ, where it does have a loyal but fairly quiet fan base.
Yeah. I think the problem with the trailer for me is it was all live action. So it wasn't a trailer, it was an advert with a real actor, and it didn't show any gameplay other than the logo at the end. So I think because they'd put such little effort into it, my head just told me, it must just be DLC.
Yeah, but it's like, again, it's like Civ. If you're a fan of Anno, you're probably really excited that they're bringing out another Anno game. And if not, you're probably going, what is that game? Let's look at the other Anno games to kind of get an idea. It's not going to rip up the rulebook of what Anno is.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know indeed.
I know.
Was there anything else at the Ubisoft Forward that's worth talking about?
That was it.
No.
Pretty much that's why, again, it felt very much like he's an update on 2 big games. Here's some trailers for DLC, expansion, season content. Great. Keep supporting them, Ubisoft. But, I think they're going to have a great back end of the year. And I think paired with Prince of Persia, this is probably going to be Ubisoft's best year since a long time. A long time.
Ubisoft might get Game of the Year this year.
Potentially.
They've got 2 candidates, realistically.
They do.
Yeah.
See how it depends how they land.
Do you want to move the conversation on to that, actually? Like, talk about what we've been playing this year? Because we're about halfway through the year. We're actually pretty much...
We are, yeah.
It's the 15th of June when we're recording this, so we are halfway through the year.
Perfect.
So perfect chance to kind of take stock in how 2024 shaped up to be. So, Chris, what are your thoughts on 2024 as a year in gaming so far?
Yeah, so Game of the Year watch, I guess, what we've been playing, what's been out, and I think it's been a solid year for video game releases. I don't think it's got anywhere near as much hype as last year had. I think last year will go down in history as the best year in video games. It was just banger after banger. I think for me personally, I know we got Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, kicked things off in January. That was a really quick turnaround time. I was still playing Sea of Stars, at the start of the year, ticking over. Really enjoyed that, but that was last year's game. I then jumped into The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, got the Platinum Trophy in that one, played through the campaign again. Didn't really enjoy the roguelike stuff that they added as part of one of the free expansions, but I appreciate it's there. And then nothing else really came out for a while. Looking at a couple of other releases, Tekken's not for me, Tekken 8, so that's kind of skips out on it. Going into February, Helldivers 2 was probably the big one for me. I think that's currently...
Was that back in February?
Yeah, 8th of February, Helldivers 2.
I feel like it wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't. It's still doing amazingly well. That's some of the most fun I've had in a video game, especially multiplayer video game, in many, many years. And I think Helldivers 2 will be up there for a lot of Game of the Year conversations. I think it's managed to keep the energy going for over half a year now, nearly, which is like a big feat for something that I think PlayStation maybe were expecting to just come and go. So I think the fact that it's still got people talking about it, it's only going to get bigger with expansions. I think I need to have a serious conversation with myself at the end of the year. Obviously, I think Outlaws and Assassin's Creed are probably going to bump Helldivers down for my own personal taste, but I think as it stands, Helldivers 2 is probably my front runner for just I've not had that much fun in a video game, and just the general conversation globally. I've not seen something with that kind of energy in a long, long time, probably since Fortnite took off, actually, where just like anyone and everyone was referencing it, making memes about it, Reddit threads, jokes, references. It just took the world by storm, and we saw that in the play numbers. So it's a huge win for PlayStation in what would have been a quiet year otherwise. Banisher's Ghost of New Eden was one for me. That thing is an absolute sleeper hit. I think no, it's a shame because I'd love to see a sequel to it, but it's one of them where I feel like you could see the studio being closed, or I guess it's Don't Nod, so they're moving on to. Oh no, they're not Life is Strange. Yeah, they're Life is Strange. Deck 9 now. So Don't Nod. What's the other IP Don't Nod have going? They've got 2, and Banishes is their non-Telltale-esque one, and I feel like they do have a Telltale style one they do work on. But that aside, if you've not played Banishes Ghost of New Eden, it's definitely a recommendation from me. We got the Tomb Raider remasters come out. Great. I'll wait for the next proper Tomb Raider entry. Skull and Bones, Richie. We played it on the channel. We dabbled in that. Don't need to really say anything about Skull and Bones. That came as expected and went down like a sunken ship as expected. I
think it's got a small community. It does seem to be sticking around a bit.
What's it called? Not a frigate. What's smaller than a frigate?
I don't know.
Skiff? Is it skiff? Yeah. It's got a skiff-sized community in the grand scheme of things.
With something like Skull and Bones, because we're not involved in the community, are we a case of kind of overlooking how popular it is?
No, I don't think so. Everyone's if you're into that kind of stuff, you're playing Sea of Thieves, and especially because that's on PlayStation as well now. It's multi-platform, and Microsoft have that track record of supporting Sea of Thieves, and Rare have been doing a terrific job.
Well, actually, I had in the news story for there, but I might as well mention it now since you brought up Sea of Thieves. It's the top-selling game in Europe on PlayStation.
There you go. So why would you play Skull and Bones?
Yeah.
If you want your pirate adventure, go play Sea of Thieves. What else? And then it had been quite. Yeah, I guess I'll throw it over to you here, because this is where Final Fantasy Rebirth kicks off at the back end of February, and this is what took a lot of people a lot of hours.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. I think we're looking at 2024 and going, it's been fairly quiet. There's stuff that's come out, but nothing much ground shaking. But 2023 was the same. 2022 is the same. For the last few years, the start of the year has been largely quite quiet. You might get one big title. I think, was it 2022? We got Hogwarts Legacy. Or was that 2023? At the start of the year, that was kind of the big thing. And not much followed till after Summer Games Fest. And then suddenly,
Hogwarts Legacy was last year.
Suddenly, the year started building in the second half.
I think you're quite wrong there. I think Hogwarts Legacy was March, and then April was Jedi Survivor, and then Final Fantasy 16 was like May, June.
Yeah, absolutely. I am talking absolute bollocks. You're right.
And then Spider-Man 2, then Mirage, then Alan Wake 2, and then like all the autumn winter games kicked off. Because I think I just played games all year last year. It felt like.
You know what I think it was? I think the first couple of months before Hogwarts Legacy were quiet, and then it kicked off.
Forspoken was in January, which
that doesn't count.
Landed like a flat balloon.
So for me, I was trying to remember what I was playing this year. So I go back to my PlayStation trophy list. I started the year off just still playing Final Fantasy 16, so that kind of carried over. I tried getting to Plague Tale Requiem. It just didn't click for me. I did play through Alan Wake 1 with my girlfriend. And it was pretty much Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth for a good solid 2 months.
Yeah.
And I only have 58% completion in that game.
Yeah. Was it too long in the end, do you think? For a middle entry?
For the story, no. If you're going for the platinum and care about the trophies, yes. Because I just burnt out on it. I got to the point where I just got a bit fed up of playing that game. And to get the platinum, you have to do a replay. That's one thing. I wish that's what killed it for me. That's when I kind of made the decision. I'm going to stop, because I realized I'm not going to get the platinum because I don't want to do another. It's a hard mode playthrough. I don't want to do a hard mode playthrough of this game right now. So I'm not going to bother getting all the miscellaneous trophies to mop up, because I'm not going to get the platinum anyway. So I was like,
that's fair.
Okay, I've done pretty much all the story content. I'm done. I was very content with where I left that game. I think I was a bit bent out on Final Fantasy as well, because from going from 16, I think I played 7 Remake just before I went into 16 as well. So for a good 4 months, Final Fantasy consumed my life.
This is your Final Fantasy.
It's still my game of the year for this year. And nothing else has come close, because nothing really else has captured my imagination. I went back to start playing Jedi Survivor, but I've talked about I've struggled to get into playing that Not because of anything to do with the game, but just because how much my life's kind of changed quite a bit since the end of January. Like, I'm currently feel like I'm living in 2 different houses. So it's that kind of early-ish relationship stuff is like... So I have been playing like things like Stick of Truth on the Portal, playing a bit of FIFA and stuff. I've been playing the Lego games, but all this is old stuff.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I think going back, there's such a wealth. And speaking of going back, I was just looking at the release list for last year. You said the quiet thing.
Yeah.
About
it wasn't quiet, was it?
Dead Space Remake was January as well.
Yeah.
Which is epic. Dead Island 2 was April. Warlong Fall. I was thinking back and I was like, oh yeah, because I was in the hospital when I beat that Warlong Fallen Dynasty boss. So it was like there was some proper like big hitters that got like a lot of hype. Wild Hearts, I know that came and went, but there was like big AAA games that launched even before Hogwarts Legacy came out. The Persona collection came out as well. Well, it came to Xbox, I should say, the remastered ones. But looking at 2024 and beyond, I think without playing Final Fantasy, I've had like quite a quiet summer of nothing really to play. I dabbled in the Battlefront Classic Collection that came out, and then there's nothing really much. That's why I keep going back to EA Sports FC, just because that's like you go to jump back in and enjoy. But other than that, Hellblade obviously came and went in a weekend. Hellblade 2, I really thought that would have took a bit more of my time, which I'm not angry at, but I think I finished it in just 2 nights, like 2 nights worth of playthrough.
You feel like you could do done with it being a bit longer.
Yeah, I think it did need like a final third. I feel like the game. I know we discussed it on the show.
I still haven't played it actually.
Oh, you could have it done by the weekend if you started this afternoon. To be fair,
I've got plans.
Yeah. Well, other than that, I'm looking at the list of games that came out, and I think I keep saying this, but the showcase that we just watched, it really was I knew it was coming, but for me, it's the back end of the year is my busy period. Where I'm going to look again with the additions of like I'm probably going to play Call of Duty this year as well. We've now got Astrobot that got confirmed. There's Lego Horizon Adventures, which are like 2 titles that I'll probably play with the wife. And then now I've got Outlaws, which is a 50-hour game. Then Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I'll probably pick up this year's FIFA copy as well. And if we get another Switch announcement, who knows? Indiana Jones for Xbox, which is also rumoured to be back end of this year. So now it's just like I've gone from nothing to shit. I only have a couple of weeks before summer's over, and then now I have to start. I have to start like it's a task, like a job. Damn, I have to play video games.
Yeah, I'm looking through like the kind of list of games. I'm ignoring remasters because Last of Us Part 2 remaster came out 19th of January. I'm kind of putting like a first half of the year like short list for Game of the Year. I'm ignoring anything that hasn't come out. And so far, I've got Final Fantasy VII Remake, Helldivers 2, Prince of Persia, Lost Crown, Dragon's Dogma, and Hellblade 2 on that list. Not bad, really. I feel like it could... I think when I've gone through the list, I think they're the standout candidates if you had to call Game of the Year at this point in time. But other than Helldivers and Prince of Persia, I think the rest of them could be knocked off the shortlist in the back end of the year. Because as much as I loved Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, didn't sell great. Did well critically.
Yeah.
But because of the time it came out and because of the sales of it, by the time the Game Awards comes around, could that just be kind of, become an honourable mention rather than locked in as a candidate?
Yeah. I'm trying to think, like, I'm looking forward.
It's entirely possible this year Ubisoft could have 3 games up for Game of the Year.
It's a good year for Ubisoft to have these IP.
Mm-hmm.
Because, as you said, I don't think any other ones. I think Indiana Jones is going to miss the cutoff point. Life is Strange Double Exposure coming out October. I think that could do well it won't win any of the big ones.
That's going to be Games for
like
Impact or Indie Game.
Narrative, best narrative.
I see a bit of criticism actually for that. I didn't read into it because I don't understand where the criticism's coming from. So
there's an article from PC Gamer which we can dip into now. We might as well while we're here. In Double Exposure, apparently it doesn't basically acknowledge a canonical ending from the first Life is Strange. So when you start the game, it gives you the options to pick what happened or what decisions you made to kind of give it some foundation. But just apparently a couple of people on the internet are just annoyed because it's not sticking to one storyline. But it's a video game, get over it.
But then if they picked one storyline over the other, it invalidates your experience playing through Life is Strange 1.
Yeah, it's just, again, people getting caught up in stuff that they think is real life, but it's actually, guys, it's a video game. Like, calm down.
I thought they were going to do multiverse shit and go all of them are valid. And the max you are playing through, this is her experience. However, based on your choices, all different. And I thought they were going to actually do like a multiverse story and kind of link all potential endings in.
Yeah, so apparently Max has vowed never to use her powers again, and then they evolve into kind of seeing the double exposure is a cool name as well. This like kind of two parallel worlds that's just
based on probably the two main endings from the last game.
Potentially, yeah, and then it ties in with a current new friend where she's moved away to another town. She's moved away from Arcadia Bay to a new place, and just shit happens again. It seems to be like, why always me? But the biggest thing, which rightly so for me is getting the biggest piece of criticism, is the launch rollout. So for a predominantly, well, not predominantly, a story-driven focused game, they're doing the episodic thing again, not like an episodic rollout. It's just the game is broken up into chapters, essentially. Which
I think that's best how these games are presented.
Yeah. It doesn't really
have all the chapters ready to go.
Yeah. The base game is going to be about £50.
Yeah.
Deluxe edition, about 60, and the Ultimate edition, 80. However, Richie, if you buy the Ultimate edition, you can play it up to 2 weeks early. So they're giving away 2 weeks early access for those who are willing to part with the most cash.
Only chapters 1 and 2, though.
But still, it's not multiplayer online. This isn't like early access to the arenas and stuff. This is spoilers. So if it's me and you who are both Life is Strange fans, if we don't chip in for the Ultimate Edition, what are the chances on our social media over those 2 weeks we see a spoiler?
Oh, hi. I'm looking at the difference you get from the different editions. Standard edition, you just get the full game, as you'd expect. Deluxe edition, you get the spooky outfit pack and the Decades outfit pack. Ultimate edition, you get that, plus Final Fantasy VII outfit pack. Fan favourite outfit pack, which I'm guessing is going back to maybe Max's and Chloe's and Rachel Amber's like original costumes or something. Paw Print outfit pack and exclusive cat content. Honestly, I'd save you money. I unless you are adamant you want to dress Max up as Cloud Strife.
Yeah.
Which I think would be kind of immersion breaking for this style game anyway. I would just save you money, just go for the standard.
Yeah, but 2 weeks is a long time. Maybe a couple of days I'd let them get away with, but £20 or $20 more.
And this is for me, it's a very much vote with your money and don't bother.
Yeah.
You can get the 2 weeks early in a pre-order, actually pre-purchase offer. At least you can on Steam.
Yeah, but it's like, come on, Life is Strange. Like you've got such a good energy and a good vibe, and people are going to buy it anyway. Why then start messing around with sales? I know it's not the devs; it's probably the publisher's sales team at Square. But just like, come on, just put it up for sale like a normal company should do.
I didn't read the fine print. It's pre-purchased the Ultimate Edition.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, looking at the rest of the year, Call of Duty will do well, no doubt. I'm interested to see what it looks like with the Game Pass accompaniment to it. Flight Simulator.
Game Pass could be the thing, I think, that pushes Call of Duty properly into Game of the Year.
I don't think I don't think the people who vote, unless the campaign is absolutely stellar, I think Call of Duty is beyond Game of the Year discussion forever now. I think
you reckon?
It's just it's just so part of the industry. It's like,
I think if they come out with an absolute solid, engaging narrative, I think Call of Duty, because the polish has always been there. If they come up with an engaging narrative, that's what suddenly puts you back in the conversation.
The people who vote at these things at the Game Awards, I don't think they're the type of people who really play Call of Duty to a degree where they care.
The people like us. Give me a narrative action adventure game.
Yeah, that's it. If it's there, like that's why I think Outlaws and Assassin's Creed probably has a higher chance.
Yeah,
just based on the people who vote prefer third person story with characters. Now, this is why it's interesting PlayStation don't have anything big out this year, because it would have been a clean sweep if they put something out. Like, if they put Ghost of Tsushima 2 out or something, that'd be a shoo-in. But then, you know what might be a surprise?
Well,
I think Astrobot might sneak in there, September release. It's garnering low. Like, did you see on the wish lists? I think IGN posted a wish list article. It's from the whole Summer Game Fest. It's number one wish list game, Astrobot. Doom is second. And then the list kind of like goes down with Gears and other such things. But Astrobot, Richie, number one.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And I think if that lands well with family and older audiences, it's got that bit of whimsy. Remember the DICE Awards, Untitled Goose Game won Game of the Year. So it's not beyond reasoning that in a quiet year where people maybe look at Outlaws and go, it's Star Wars, it doesn't deserve it. Assassin's Creed, it's too big and bloated, the story's not great. Astrobot could sneak in there with fun and whimsy and colourful characters and a bit of nostalgia sprinkled in.
I think they could do it. I really do.
I'm saying it here. I think it might be mine. Like, I think I'm so looking forward to Astrobot. 80 levels of nostalgia-fueled 3D platforming. Yeah. And I think it's the truest version of 3D Mario we've got that hasn't came from Nintendo, I think, since Mario. For those who haven't played Astro's Playroom, it's essentially that. And I think if that gets made into a fully fledged game, I think it might sneak in there. Might be my game of the year.
Yeah, I've got a feeling you might be right, actually, because I can see Star Wars Outlaws and Assassin's Creed Shadows come out and go sell absolute gangbusters.
Yep.
Hit solid high 8s, maybe low 9s out of 10. But I can also see like Shadows come across where its major criticism is it's just the next Assassin's Creed game.
Yep. I think they'll be up there with like the nominations.
They're not.
So they'll be in the game, but I don't think.
But they're not doing anything to really push their own genres forward. That kind of thing. It's like everyone's like, oh yeah, they're great games. Where Astrobot feels like immediately you look at the trailer for Astrobot versus like especially Star Wars Outlaws, it's more that game is clearly more polished.
Yeah,
it looks smoother. It's more vibrant. It looks. As you mentioned, when we're talking about Star Wars, some people criticise the gameplay for looking a bit clunky. Astrobot doesn't look clunky in the slightest.
Yeah, it's smooth and fun.
And if they nail a 3D platformer with a bit of a narrative, it's clearly got the charm there.
Mm-hmm. Did Mario Odyssey win the year it came out, or did Zelda pip it?
I think Zelda pipped it. Yeah. But I think it was in the conversation.
Yeah, Nintendo had a crack at that, yeah.
Yeah.
So that could be a reason. The Don't Nod game I was thinking of that was so close to Life is Strange, it's called Lost Records Bloom and Rage, and it looks like Life is Strange. It's about 3 girls in the 80s who have a band of some sort and something sci-fi, they discover
something sci-fi, something bad things happen.
Crazy twist, emotions, decisions need to be made, but it literally looks like Life is Strange, but with a 80s rock punk aesthetic over it. Yeah. That's Don't Nod's next game. That's supposed to be coming late 2024, so I'm surprised we didn't see it, if I'm not mistaken, at any of the Game Awards stuff. Game Showcase.
Indeed, but if you don't want to wait till late 2024, on the 18th of June 2024, you're getting a whole new list of PlayStation Plus games for Premium Extra members. So what have we got in this list? Crusader Kings 3, Football Manager 2024, Console Edition, Monster Hunter Rise, Monster Supercross 6, the official video game. I think it's got a lot more words in the thing, but Anno 1800 and After Us. Chris, what is your pick of the bunch?
Honestly, probably none of them. I think it's a weak ass month for PlayStation Plus. Again, this is the catalogue ones, right? This isn't claimable. So this is just getting added to the ever-rotating list of catalogue games. I will take this as an opportunity once again to point out the Lego Hobbit is included on PS4.
Oh.
Fuck TT games and the Lego Hobbit games, because this is not a complete game. And I'll bring this up every time the Hobbit is mentioned.
Until it's complete.
This does not contain the Battle of the Five Armies, as was promised, as DLC. TT Games bottled it. They never made it. So if you play this game, you're getting 2/3 of a game, realistically.
Yeah.
And until we get a Lego Middle-earth collection that wraps all the saga up in one, I will not rest.
There's actually a couple more games that I hadn't mentioned, because they weren't on the graphic, when I scrolled down the PlayStation blog article.
There's quite a few.
You got Police Simulator Patrol Officers is coming. Far Cry 4. How that didn't make the cut for the graphic, I don't know.
It's a PlayStation Plus re-release. There's a little asterisk next to it, so I'm guessing it's been in the cycle before.
But it's still...
Oh yeah, it's a bigger one.
Yeah. Disney Pixar's The Incredibles Lego is in there, and you got some VR stuff.
And some old school retro stuff.
Oh, you do,
You've got
yeah.
Lego Star Wars 2 Original Trilogy, which is the PSP version, I will point out. It's not the PS2 version, it's the PSP version that's being ported. Daxter,
an interesting
which
choice.
is a big one. Daxter, for those who don't know, Daxter's the PSP spin-off game that was made, which is really, really good. Stranded on the PSP, which actually means, to one of our other stories, every single Jak and Daxter game is now available on current hardware. With the launch of this one later on this month, I think it's the 18th, so a couple of days from now it comes out, which, as far as preservation goes, and bring them up with trophy support, and have you noticed the new emulated games that have been coming out this last month, they've got the rewind and save features as well?
I haven't, because I don't have extra or premium.
So yeah, all of these emulated games we've seen from like the Jak Collection, the Resistance remakes, the PSP ports, they all have save at any point. So it just saves it in, and it's got a rewind function like a lot of the Sega Mega Drive remaster things had. So basically, at any point you die or whatever, just press the pause button and just rewind. It literally rewinds by frame, so you can just go which is great.
I'm looking at this list, and I think it's actually fairly solid mid-month. These are all very nice to have catalog games. So if you're interested, for example, if you're interested in the new Monster Hunter game coming up, is it Worlds? Or Wilds?
Wilds.
You could do, oh god, I've never played Monster Hunter. Oh, Monster Hunter Rise is there. It's a nice to have in your catalogue kind of thing. I'm interested in the new, if you're interested in Anno 1800 is there. You could have a gauge whether you're going to be interested in Anno. I think like Crusader Kings, I think Rob probably already got that. Oh, it feels like a very Rob game. No one cares about Monster Hunter Energy AMA Supercross Championship 6, the official video game.
They don't.
No. But I don't think it's a bad collection of games. Obviously, I think Far Cry 4 for me is the pick of the bunch.
Yeah, it's a varied mix, but it's catalog updates, isn't it? Nothing to get hyped over.
Not really, but we do have a few more stories just to round up the show. Lollipop Chainsaw returns on September the 25th. Have you ever heard of this game before, Chris?
I've only heard of it because one of our friends had it on either 360 or PS3, maybe, back in the day, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people only bought this. There was a movie, if I recall, as well, and it was pretty much just due to girls wearing cheerleader outfits.
I'm worried about us getting demonetized with this video, so I might not have the trailer in.
Yeah, it's like zombies,
it's
right?
It's probably going to be there, to be
honest. It's girls with overly sized weapons and scantily clad. It's a beat 'em up.
It's a third person 3D beat 'em up where you play as a cheerleader. Yeah. And yes, this game knows exactly what it's doing.
It's got a cult following. The remaster doesn't look that remastered, if I'm honest, but I can imagine the budget for this, it wasn't great. It was more just like, what IP can we pull out the back catalogue that, because of some key artwork and some horny people out there, we might get some sales.
It's a remake. It's listed as a remake, not a remaster. That's what I just wanted to double check. So when I was reading the Push Square articles, like,
yeah, release.
If it's a remaster, 100%. Fair enough. You're just getting the same game. They just slapped a bit of polish, got it on the new hardware. A remake shouldn't look like should look like a new game.
But Richie, the release will also add 30 costumes.
Yeah.
I wonder what type of costumes they're going to be.
Each of them less revealing than the last.
Yeah, it's like, what's that? Is it the beach volleyball game that always sells super well because it's literally just body physics jumping around on a beach in bikinis and stuff. Oh, it's always, if you go on like the PlayStation store and look at like games under 15, the DLC and stuff is just like tons of like artwork of like barely makes it onto the PlayStation storefront for like child maturity ratings, but
they just skating that they're right on the line with, and probably a million different DLC packs, all of them cosmetic.
But you know what, it sells, so you can't critique them for it too much. But I won't be playing it.
No, me either. It's just, it doesn't, I don't think the game looks that it looks like an old arcade game that probably wasn't that great to begin with. And if it wasn't for the protagonist being a cheerleader and flashing her panties every 2 seconds, I don't think this game would even be talked about.
If it was just a generic white dude, it wouldn't. No, not at all. But speaking of arcade-esque games...
Yeah, indeed, and probably generic white dudes. The House of the Dead 2 remake has been rated for Switch. And reading from Nintendo Life, 18 plus obvs.
Obvs.
Yeah. So, will you be playing House of the Dead on your Switch, Chris?
No, I'm not. I play House of the Dead in the arcade. I'm sure they haven't had They had the remake back out in 2019. Remember, it came to Google Stadia.
It did.
The House of the Dead remake. Number 2. I guess the first one did well enough. Switch obviously has the gyro functions a little bit more. So
but will you use them?
No. I don't think many people buy this outside of... I remember playing this in the arcade. House of the Dead. Yeah. It's better with a light gun. Let's just admit it. It's better with a light gun. It's like if they did a Point Blank or something, or Time Crisis. It's like it's not the same experience.
On Switch, if you use like the light gun peripheral, that could be fun.
Yeah.
But you haven't... This is the downside of a game like this. You need to buy a specific thing to adapt your controller to play a game that is kind of okay. It was kind of okay when it came out for the arcades. Not very good for home consoles, and now you have to buy additional hardware to play it on a platform which most people are probably moving on from.
Yeah, it's only rated for the Switch, so maybe the gyro is like specific to it, but we'll have to wait to find out a little bit more. But,
we don't know the price. If it's like a $5, it might actually do well.
Yeah, but again, video game preservation, I'm all for it, and those arcade machines don't last forever, so keep it coming.
Indeed. So where do you want to go next? Beyond Good and Evil, Chris. We've talked about Ubisoft. Beyond Good and Evil 2 seems like it's never ever going to be released. But we might get a 20th anniversary edition on PS5. Why wouldn't that be at the Ubisoft Forward?
Yeah, I don't... So this was, I think, rumoured or rated a couple of weeks back. I don't know if we covered it or not on the show, but Beyond Good and Evil, 20 years since the first one. It's been about 9 years since the trailer for the second one was at E3. It was that long ago, E3 doesn't even exist either anymore. Trophy List was discovered, which means there's probably a launch imminent for it, which does make me think, like, why the hell didn't they just show it at the trailer? I'm guessing they didn't want to upset people who were maybe expecting something for Beyond Good and Evil 2, and then finding out they only get an anniversary edition might leave a bit of a sour taste. I just don't think... Again,
but don't you think you're just better off addressing it head on? Rather than like skulking around in the background, because people are still going to ask questions. So you're messing up the marketing for a game that you are doing so you don't talk about the game that you are also claimed to be doing. That doesn't make sense to me. But there again, Ubisoft rarely do make sense to me.
Again, I'm hoping I'm not just in my own little silo here with you and me, but comments, let us know if you care or remember playing or have any interest in Beyond Good and Evil now after 20 years. Do you really want a sequel? Do you really need an anniversary edition? Drop a monkey emoji in the comments, and that will be my gauge for next week if people actually care, because I don't think anyone cares. I think Ubisoft have made a decision. They've looked at the analytics, and I don't think in the industry or players as a whole, like within our friend circle, Richie, I don't think anyone gives two shits about Beyond Good and Evil. I
think they need a remake of Beyond Good and Evil before Beyond Good and Evil 2.
I'd rather have a new IP.
Because it's been 20 years. 20 years before the sequels. Like, most of the people who played that game on release are probably in their 40s.
Yeah.
So for the next... if you're trying to target, like, the next generation of kids, why would they care about Beyond Good and Evil 2 if they've never played Beyond Good and Evil 1?
Vaporware.
Yeah, and the thing with all the titles, even with remasters, sometimes the nostalgia can carry you through, but if you've never played it probably won't hold up.
That's why I just don't think there's enough people.
Yeah. So your solution to the problem of old games not getting enough love is to create more people.
More people.
More people.
Babies.
Gentlemen, go home. See to your wives. Chris wants more people.
More people. Get on it.
Metal Gear Solid Delta has, apparently, Chris, 2 visual modes and 2 control schemes, and you can pick and choose between them.
Yeah, there's some back and forth with Delta at the moment, isn't there? With the release date was rumoured or leaked, and then I think GameSpot or GameStop had to backtrack and say, oh, it was only a placeholder, don't read too much into it. But what the producer was on the official Xbox podcast, after the showcase last week, they did a couple of podcast drops, like specifically focusing on different things, and Metal Gear was one of them. And he confirmed, yeah, there's a legacy style to Metal Gear Solid, which is going to add control filters and stuff, so you can either make it play like the old style game, or you can make it play a little bit more like a modern third person, which I think I'm probably going to play with modern controls, because some of the old Metal Gear ones are a little bit clunky. And you've never played 3,
Nope.
have you? Which it's rumoured to be the best of them all. Not rumoured, sorry, well thought to be the best of them all. I think from my personal take, I would agree. So I think playing with modern controls just like brings it a little bit more polish up to date, which is what I want from a remake. But it's good to know that the option is there within it to have both.
Yeah. I only ever praise developers for giving this sort of stuff. So like, if you want to go back and basically play Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater on modern hardware, it's like, stick the legacy mode visuals on, stick the legacy controls on, and you're probably there. You should, hopefully that'll be it. You're there. Where if you want to go, I want a modern take on the old classic, give me but stick the regular ones on, and you're there. I always praise that choice, just giving players choice for how they want to interact with their games.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll never see that as a bad thing, unless doing that does detract from the overall polish and one or both of the experiences they're offering. But I think Konami would be hopefully very aware what they potentially got with this, and the background conversation with regards to Kojima, because this is the first Metal Gear Solid after Kojima left that they're bringing out. They need to nail it.
He wasn't there for Metal Gear Revengeance, right? That was the one with the zombies and the portals.
Yeah, but that's more of a side game, though. I'm talking about a main entry franchise. I know this is a remake, effectively, but this is effectively the first main Metal Gear Solid release since 5.
Yeah, David Hayter was back for all the videos. I don't know if you saw that on YouTube. He was basically there as the host for all the legacy. So, which I think is a good move. I think obviously you're not going to get Kojima. I think bringing Snake's voice actor back to talk you through it with such confidence adds a lot of gravitas.
Legitimacy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they could have had an absolute no-name to just show up and do it.
I think this is a smart move to try and get fans back on side before they do a Metal Gear Solid 6 without Kojima.
Yeah.
Because if they do this well, then fans can go, okay, we trust you, Konami, to handle this franchise without Kojima.
Yeah, well, they had the producer who's Norikai Okurama. He was there, and he's been at Konami for 30 years. So he's worked on, I think he worked on Portable Ops, he said, and one of the other Metal Gears. So he's got his hands in on the franchise for a bit of legacy to bring to it.
Yeah.
But just to kind of quote from him, he said, "We left the gameplay, the story, and the voice cast of the original game as is, but we had to bring the graphics and controls up to modern standards, all which has changed over the years. All that's been updated, but the core game and its creative vision of the original staff." Obviously, they're never going to say Kojima's name. It's like so many nods, but they can't just say it. None of those parts have been changed.
I hate that kind of like, just say his name. Everyone knows who you're talking about. Just own it.
Yeah. You know what the worst part about all this is? What's your money on if Kojima doesn't even get a mention in any of the credits? So there are thousands of names that are going to show up at the end of this game. Even though the opening to this game, like, with all Kojima games, it's got Kojima's name shows up about 50 times in the opening scene. Dun, 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 dun. It's there. Created by, written by, produced by, in coordination with, art style, clothing department. All his name's on nearly every list of names, and I
Best
guarantee
boy,
you,
lead grip, all the weird movie jobs that no one really knows what they are.
Absolutely, Boone Mike, everything like that. Kojima. They've got to acknowledge him. Like, stop being twats about it and just
that's the thing. I know there's bad blood between Konami and Kojima, but don't pretend he doesn't exist. It just makes you look petty. Likewise, Kojima to Konami. Just yes, the original game was the vision of Kojima and his team. Mm-hmm. Put a thank you in the end of the bloody credits. Go, thank you for Kojima and his team for the work on the original. Just grow up a bit, really.
Yeah. Does it really hurt to acknowledge the original creator?
Because we all know he exists.
Yeah, and it's not like he's some kind of paedophile rapist guy who's like, you're not acknowledging him for very good reasons. It's like, no.
I worry. I'd always say stand against people review bombing because I think it just doesn't help. It doesn't actually help anyone at all. Mm-hmm. And it just skews stuff. I think Konami are potentially leaning in by going to long efforts to avoid mentioning Kojima. They're leaning into the Metal Gear Solid fanboys who are going to review bomb this.
Yeah.
But what if they started acknowledging Kojima and thanking him for his work on the originals and just kind of, actually just not be petty about things?
Just bury the hatchet, right? It's been like 10 years now.
Yeah, bury the hatchet and go, you know what? He's not with us anymore. He's doing awesome stuff. We appreciate the work he's done. Thank you for writing the original. And we hope to get his blessings on this game. And then all the fanboys were like, "Oh shit, Konami are being decent about this. We're not going to review bomb it."
Yeah,
but I think this is game susceptible to review bombing because of the Kojima stuff.
I could see, Richie, hear me out. Timestamp it, chat, for reminding me in many years to come. We get Delta Remake. Does amazingly well for Konami. They've got no creative juices to make anything new, so therefore after this we get Metal Gear 1 Remake, we get Metal Gear 2 Remake, 3, then 4. So we're talking 15 to 20 years probably. By that time, Kojima's pushing 70-year-old. He's done Death Stranding 1, 2, 3. He's done his other 2 games for Xbox and whatever the other one was. He's probably got another couple of things on the work. He's getting close to retirement. They finally bury the hatchet, and I think his swan song, he'll come back for one new entry in the Metal Gear franchise, and we get it in like 2045, and it's going to be Metal Gear 6. It's going to be phenomenal. It's going to be Kojima, Konami, back together for his retirement party, and it's going to be amazing. It's going to be 30 years in the making.
Whatever the sequel to Summer Games Fest is, you're just going to get, it's like, oh, he's a trailer from, like Jeff Keighley's on stage, he's a trailer from a good friend of mine. People are like going, oh, what's it going to be? And they see Konami logo and go, oh. Yeah. Then the Kojima logo comes up. What? Shit, they're doing it.
Yeah. Kojima's there with walking his Zimmer frame or his
and then just the title,
it is.
Metal Gear Solid 6. That's it. Don't need to show anything.
Huh?
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
That's it.
Collaboration with Kojima, and then just
you don't even need to show anything, any visuals. Just that. You just win Summer Games Fest with that.
David Hayter is like 75. Kojima's 80. Everyone at Konami who didn't like Kojima's passed away. Just like it's the perfect swan song that the guy deserves.
They get the codec sound coming in, and David Hayter answers going, "Yeah, I'm back for one last time."
Old man Snake, literally. But we'll have a long time to wait for that, but hopefully they'll bury the hatchet. Yeah. And we'll look back at this day in video game history as the day Chris predicted Metal Gear 6 with Kojima.
Yeah. But you know what? Talking about this day in history, let's end the show with this week in video game history. Chris, is there anything interesting on the 15th of June?
Well, Richie, hear me out. 24 years ago today, in Japan only, no surprise, Street Mahjong Trans Asakami 2 launched on the PlayStation 2. I have no idea what this game is about. I have no idea who made it. But I don't know why it's Street Mahjong. I don't know why it's Trans Asakami, whatever that means. But it's a title that caught my eye because there's nothing else really came out on this day. So, no, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. Anything that's jumped out to you?
Not yet. Ghostbusters, the video game.
That one. That's the one I'm going to call out. 15 years ago, Ghostbusters, the video game, the true follow-up to Ghostbusters 2. Written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis, the original writers. Voiced by the entire original Ghostbusters cast. Third-person action-adventure game. Use your proton pack. Hunt ghosts down. Travel into the reason it never made it to a movie, Richie, is because they didn't have the budget or the CGI to make it. So then they just basically left it. In video games, we're able to recreate that. You go back, you meet some amazing characters from the previous games. You basically hunt things down with a proton pack instead of a machine gun. It works exactly like a third-person shooter would do, but you're capturing ghosts, you're hunting ghosts down. It's really fun, and it's the voice acting that does it for me, because it is you've got Bill Murray in there, you've got Dan Aykroyd in there. This game is one of my probably go-to Halloween-y type games that I'll come back to time and time again. They did remaster it about 4 or 5 years ago, but it's just as good. I enjoy the latest Ghostbusters movies. Afterlife and Frozen Empire were okay.
I haven't seen Frozen Empire.
It's okay. It's a good Ghostbusters movie, but it's not the original two for me. They are my childhood. So playing this game is like, oh my word! As such a big fan of video games, that's like the perfect way for me to get the third movie. So yeah, recommend it highly.
Indeed, there's literally nothing.
No.
I went forward to like midweek, and there was nothing jumping out. So it's quite a quiet week in video games this week. But that is all we have time for this week. So if you haven't already, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell icon so you're kept in the loop with all the fantastic content here at GamerGuild TV. And if you are a YouTube watcher and you think that they're admiring Chris's t-shirt, you can get one on our store. Audio listeners can also get it, but you don't know what t-shirt he's wearing, so you might have to go to the video and look. But the storefront, the links are all for you in the description. We have a Discord. As Chris mentioned earlier at the top of the show, we're looking at doing something special for our 5th anniversary. No doubt we'll be using our Discord to help organise that. We'll probably be, at least that's when we have a better idea of details, we'll probably be sticking the details in our Discord. It's the easiest place to stay in touch with us at GamerGuild TV, and also some awesome other people who just like to hang out, talk about video games, their life, and everything else.
There is, just as a side note to the merch store, as of today, there's a 15% off everything sale on until tomorrow. Actually, you know what? Scratch that. It's Saturday, isn't it? It'll be done.
Yes.
There's a new sale coming on the 21st of June, so keep your eyes up for the end of this week. 25% off. That's how good we are to you. 25% off, one day only, 21st of June.
So if you want 3/4 of t-shirt for the same price,
this Friday, 25%, a quarter off the price.
No, you get the full t-shirt for 3/4 of the price.
Yeah,
but yeah,
worth it.
Good deal. I might even buy something myself. I might not. I'm skint. But that's all we have time for. Thank you very much for watching. My name's been Richie.
I've been Skint. Chris.
GG everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.